Every administration learns the hard way that when you have a bad story, the thing to do is to get it out, get all of it out, take your lumps, take the damage, and move on. When you engage in the drip, drip, drip of partial disclosure, and what you do is that the story stretches on for weeks, it stretches on for months. The media become convinced you have something to hide. Now, I have said on this whole Russia story, again and again, I've said it on the air, I've said it on video, I've said it in print, I've said it to my friends, that it seems like there's a whole lot of smoke without much fire at the center of it. In other words, the press seeming more to glom on to allegations of some kind of cover-up, various Trump associates not disclosing meetings, contacts with Russian officials. What does it mean? Some of this is complicated, makes a lot of the country glaze over. But there's something different about the New York Times story that ran yesterday. It was actually the second version of the story involving Donald Trump Jr. Because here, what's damaging is the admission from the president's son himself. You don't have to worry about the 10 layers of facts in the story or the media spin or analysis. Here's what Donald Trump Jr. says happened. It's back in 2016, June, when the now president's about to become the nominee. And there's a meeting that Don Jr. arranges. Jared Kushner was there. Then campaign manager Paul Manafort was there with a Russian lawyer who, as it turns out, and this is according to Don Jr.'s account, claimed that she had some damaging information about Hillary Clinton, about Russians doing some kind of fundraising or passing money to the DNC in support of Hillary Clinton. So again, this is Donald Trump Jr.'s version. They went to the meeting. The woman didn't have much. Her statements were vague. They were ambiguous. It turned out, he says, that the true agenda of the meeting was to talk about adoption. And when we talk about adoption, we're talking about Vladimir Putin ending an adoption program in which a lot of American families brought Russian babies home in retaliation for a tough U.S. law aimed at Moscow that was passed after a Russian activist was killed under, shall we say, questionable circumstances. Having realized that this was a pretext, that's Donald Trump Jr.'s words, that the meeting was a pretext to talk about this adoption-related matter, and the woman didn't have anything on Hillary, they quickly ended the meeting. So here's the president's son saying, yeah, I met with this Russian lawyer to see if she had any dirt on Hillary Clinton. Now, I am not naive about this stuff, and neither are you. Lots of these meetings take place. Campaigns, it's kind of the seamy side of campaigns. They're always looking for oppo on their opponents, but usually not from the Russians. And that's what makes this unusual. And the Times had run an earlier version a day before in which Donald Jr. Put out a statement in which he talked about, we mainly discussed adoption, didn't say anything about any oppo on Hillary Clinton. This was clearly coming out. Several unnamed advisors to the White House cooperated with this story, so the entire White House in damage control on this. Now, the best defense being made by Kellyanne Conway and others is that nothing happened. The meeting was a bust. No information was received. The Trump team was unable to do anything with it. And keep in mind, this meeting had never been disclosed. And if it had been disclosed, they would have taken their lumps and moved on. Instead, here it is, you know, a year later, a year after this meeting, that this is first coming out. So for the people who support Donald Trump, they'll say, well, you know, this is politics. Nothing happened. There's nothing to see here. But we do have the first admission that part of the president's inner circle, indeed part of his family, was interested in seeing if the Russians, in this particular case, a Russian lawyer who had a tangential connection to the Trump family, had anything damaging on Hillary Clinton. And that, I think, you know, is going to fuel the media's suspicion and lead to more stories about this. What would make sense, it's harder to do with a special counsel for the White House, is to get all these meetings out, put out whatever embarrassing or compromising information there might be, take their lumps and move on, because the more this stretches out, the more it takes away oxygen from the president's agenda, and that's what's happening right now with this New York Times story.